Hello. The aim of this video is to help you become familiar with the tasks that I'm going to ask you to perform in the first week of the module, getting started in advancing chemistry. I'm going to share my screen so I can talk you through what I'm asking you to do in this first week. So as you see, the aims and objectives for this week is for you to become familiar with the structure of the module and also to do a bit of reading and work in preparation for our first online workshop that will happen in the second week, in the second teaching week. In total, I would expect you to spend around a bit over 4 hours on all these tasks. And I will expect you to spend most of your time in the final task, which I will mention in a second. Once you finish each task, you don't have to do it, but you might find it useful to keep track of what you have done and what you have not done to mark the item as review. And you can always mark it again if you remember that to add something you haven't done before. So this week I'm asking you to watch my welcome video that gives an overview of how the module fits within the wider context of the 3 modules you are studying on this first semester at level 6. I'm also asking you to have a look at the module handbook, so 4 or 5 pages, and specifically to the section where it lists all the content for each week and which weeks are going to have an online workshop and a general idea of the content of we're going to study each week. I would really need you to register for a free personal publishing account with the Royal Society of Chemistry. You don't have to be a member of the Royal Society of Chemistry. You just have to sign up to their website, to one of these personal publishing accounts, and it will give you access to username, password, and your personal details. And it will give you access to quite a few resources from the Royal Society of Chemistry that are freely available as long as you register. In particular for this module, you're free to explore what you can access in their database. Specifically, I will be directing you to particular chapters of books. The books themselves are pay, you need to pay to read them, but they have chapters that are free access. I will always direct you to resources that are free access. So I have selected a few chapters that I will direct you to read throughout the next few weeks. So it is useful if you have already a free RSC publishing account to start with. I'm also going to ask you to engage with something called a novel database. It's an engineering and chemistry database, and we as part of Canterbury Christchurch University, we have access. It has a really good range of resources for many science disciplines, but in our case, specifically for chemistry. You will need to access it through the using your login and password. You might have, depending on whether you are accessing it at home or on campus, or whether you are already logged onto the library page, the library search facility. When you are accessing the database, it will ask you different things. You can always access it choosing open Athens. If you have any problems to access the database, please enter the library or let me know, and I will try to work out how to best support you, because sometimes it's very personal depending on what computer you are using and whether you are at home or on campus. You can go directly through this link, or you can access it through the library website in the page called Resources for Chemistry. Have a look at the resources. You can try several searches: organic chemistry, organic synthesis, advanced synthesis, pharmaceutical synthesis, medicine, drug discovery. You will find quite a few resources of different quality. You will see that some of the resources available are quite old books. Maybe you might find free open access books that are from the 50s and 60s. So be mindful of the ages of the resources that the database is showing you. But you can find quite recent books and articles, specifically books. We are going to be using for this module at least these 2 books I'm mentioning. Organic Synthesis by Smith and Advanced Organic Synthesis, Structure and Mechanisms by Carr. So what I'm asking you to do is to locate these 2 books in the database and bookmark them using the database by using a facility that it has called My Novel, which you can bookmark here. Well, in my case, you will see I've got a few already bookmarked, including the ones I'm mentioning. So please do this so you don't have to waste time come in a few weeks when I'm directing you to read a particular chapter or find particular bits of information. You don't have to waste time getting your head around how to get to those books. You have access, we have access as members of Christ Church. And finally, the most important part of I'm asking you to do some work looking back at what you did last year in inorganic and organic chemistry, specifically in the organic part of inorganic and organic chemistry, in preparation for next week's workshop and in general for this module. I'm asking you to look back to the presentations in the first few weeks of inorganic and organic chemistry at level 5, when we were looking at functional groups and chemical reactivity. These are the 3 presentations that you can find if you go back to your level 5 module, inorganic and organic chemistry. So you can get it from there. You already have your own notes that I'm putting them here just for to save you time locating them in the other Blackboard. I'm asking you specifically to engage with functional groups and chemical reactivity part 1. I've left part 2 and 3 for added information, but it's specifically part 1 that I think is more useful at the moment. I'm asking you these 2 things. I'm asking you that using that presentation or the book that you can find in your level 5 Blackboard, inorganic and organic chemistry, where those presentations come from, I'm asking you to make a list of functional groups, levels 1, 2, 3, and 4, the ones that are listed in that presentation. Include the name and include the structure, so not just a list of lactame and imine and carboxylic acid, but also the structure of how functional looks like. And also, which is also covered in part 1 of these presentations, I'm asking you to make a list of typical ways to transform functional groups from one into another, and how you can go up or down a level into the different functional groups. And if you don't remember right now, it makes more sense when you look at the presentation and hopefully book your memory, because we study this idea of moving up and down levels of functional groups when we did inorganic and organic chemistry. I'm asking you to find, to write down the reaction with an example, including the chemicals that you are using, so all the reagents. Part 1 is the most useful one. Part 2 and 3 are extensions of some of the things covered in part 1, more going into, for example, organometallic compounds. Maybe you remember Grignard reagents. But even if you only look at part 1 and you focus well on the type of reactions that are mentioned in there, and use part 2 and 3 just for maybe added information, that's enough. Things we will do in our first workshop, one of the several things we will do in our first workshop, is, apart from doing exercises to see if we recognize functional groups and suggest transformations to transform one functional group into another, we will share ideas on how to structure these lists, because this list will become incredibly important when we advance throughout this module. We are going to be doing an advanced synthesis module. We're going to be looking at how to make compounds. We're going to be engaging in something called retrosynthesis. You have the final compound and how you can put together the building blocks of that compound, and what reactions will make you get from the particular reagents to your compound. And for that, you will really need to have next to you available at all times when you're reading a paper, when you're reading a chapter book, when you are engaging in the workshops, you need to have that information at your fingertips. We will not advance efficiently if you suddenly have to struggle to think what exactly does a Grignard reagent do, or how can I reduce a carbonyl group to an alcohol. So that's why I'm asking you to look back to what you did in level 5 to build on in the next few weeks. And finally, you've got a discussion board for week 1, and I would ask you, we're a small group, but I would ask you to post questions or any comments on the board. If you have any questions, please email me, emilia.bertolo@canterbury.ac.uk. Any comments, post in the discussion board or email me personally. And if you have any doubts about what you're meant to be doing during this week, please do contact me. I rely on your feedback to make this module work for you and make it really useful for your future career if you ever end up something related to synthesis or the pharmaceutical industry. So that's all from now. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope this was helpful.